The shortcut trap. You can Google anything. You can summarize any book, ask AI to explain every topic, and find a tutorial for every skill. And yet somehow, people are learning slower than ever. Because shortcuts don't make you smarter. They make you dependent. Real speed doesn't come from knowing more facts. It comes from learning how to think, how to adapt, how to build knowledge that lasts. And once you master that, you can learn anything faster than everyone else.
Chapter 1. The Truth About Learning Faster. There's a moment every learner reaches, that quiet frustration when you realize that no matter how many tutorials, courses, or notes you've taken, the progress still feels slow. You start to wonder if maybe you just don't have that kind of brain, or if you're somehow behind everyone else. I've been there too. When I first tried to teach myself programming, I devoured videos and articles every night. I watched entire playlists, underlined paragraphs, built folders full of resources. But when I sat down to actually write code, my mind went blank. All that knowledge was somewhere, but it wasn't accessible when I needed it. That's when I started asking a question that changed everything. What if learning faster isn't about cramming more, but about thinking differently? We live in a world addicted to shortcuts. Learn X in 7 days, master Y in 24 hours. The message is clear. If you're struggling, you must be doing it wrong. But the truth is the exact opposite. Struggle is not a signal of failure, it's the proof that learning is happening. When you lift weights, your muscles grow by repairing tiny tears. The discomfort is literally the process of growth. Learning works the same way. Every time your brain hits resistance, it's building stronger neural connections. And yet most people spend their entire education avoiding that resistance. We've been trained to chase ease. Apps summarize books for us. AI writes notes for us. Teachers spoon-feed exam questions. It feels efficient. But it's like trying to get fit by watching someone else exercise. That's the heart of what I call the effort-time exchange. You can save effort now, or you can save time later, but you can't have both. When you take the easy route today, you borrow time from your future self. You'll spend twice as long relearning the same concept because your brain never had to struggle with it. The mind learns through effort. Imagine two students. One reads a chapter once, highlights it, and moves on. The other reads slowly, questions every paragraph, re-rates key ideas in her own words. She finishes later, but she remembers for life. That's the effort-time exchange in motion. When you feel that friction, that little voice saying, "This is hard," recognize it as your signal to stay longer. That's the exact spot where new connections are forming. Learning faster is not about skipping difficulty. It's about working with it deliberately. The moment you stop fighting the struggle and start using it, your pace of growth multiplies. You stop being a consumer of knowledge and become a constructor of understanding.
Chapter 2. How Fast Learners Think. Once I realized that struggle was the key, I wanted to know what separated the fastest learners, the people who could absorb ideas from any situation. I started studying them. Creators, scientists, musicians, athletes, they all had one thing in common: flexibility. They were what I now call omni-learners, people who could learn from any medium, any environment, any format. They weren't limited by the myth of learning styles. You know the one. I'm a visual learner, or I only learn through doing. That belief feels comfortable because it gives us an excuse to stay in familiar territory. But research shows there's no real evidence that learning styles determine how well you learn, only how you prefer to start. Fast learners don't cling to preferences, they adapt. If they can't understand a concept visually, they'll talk it out. If words don't click, they'll build something, sketch it, argue about it, test it in real life. Because to them, the goal isn't comfort, it's comprehension. When I finally let go of my own style, I noticed something wild. My ability to understand complex ideas exploded. I could listen to a podcast while walking, pause, and sketch the concept in the air with my hands. I could talk through ideas out loud, even alone, and suddenly see connections I'd missed before. That's the first mental upgrade of fast learners: adaptability. But there's a second, even more powerful one: the iteration effect. Here's what it means: you don't learn by consuming, you learn by creating and correcting. Every time you use what you've just learned, even imperfectly, you trigger a feedback loop that sharpens your understanding. Think of it like sculpting. The first version is rough. You carve, step back, adjust, carve again. Each iteration brings it closer to clarity. That's how fast learners treat every subject. They don't aim to understand before they act. They act to understand. You can see it in how they study languages. Instead of memorizing vocabulary lists for months, they start speaking immediately, making hundreds of tiny mistakes, correcting on the spot. The mistakes aren't setbacks, they're data. Or look at creators online. The ones who grow fastest aren't the ones waiting for perfect ideas. They post, learn from feedback, adjust, and post again. Iteration compounds speed. The more loops you run, the faster your brain builds accurate models of reality. Here's a simple framework: learn, recall, reflect, relearn. You read something new, then close the page and recall it from memory. You reflect on what you missed, you go back, fill the gaps, and repeat. Do that a few times and you'll be shocked how quickly knowledge sticks, because every loop strengthens neural pathways. It's like tracing over the same pattern until it becomes muscle memory for the mind. Most people never get to this stage because they stop at exposure. They think, "I've seen this once" means I know it. But exposure is not understanding. Iteration is. So if you want to think like a fast learner, stop waiting to be ready. Act sooner, fail sooner, reflect sooner. Every iteration is a small rehearsal for mastery. When you combine omni-learning with iteration, you develop what feels like a superpower: the ability to make sense of anything faster than the average person. Not because you're smarter, but because you're more deliberate. And that's something anyone can train. Chapter 3: Designing Your Learning Lifestyle. Principles are great, but if they don't live inside your day, they fade. Fast learners don't just know how to learn, they design environments where learning happens automatically. It starts with intentionality. Every morning, before consuming information, ask yourself one simple question: what am I trying to understand today? That question does something powerful. It tells your brain what to look for. It filters noise from signal. You stop scrolling aimlessly and start learning deliberately. From there, build a simple rhythm for your day: a learn, process, produce loop. When you learn something, immediately process it, rewrite it, explain it, or test it in some form. Even a 1-minute reflection forces your mind to consolidate the idea. Then produce something with it: a note, a diagram, a short recording, a conversation. Teaching is the fastest form of testing. Next, connect what you've learned. Ask, where does this fit in my existing map of knowledge? The human brain remembers through association. When you link new information to old, you multiply recall. Finally, reflect. Reflection is the quiet accelerator most people skip. At night, spend 2 minutes reviewing your day. What did I learn? What challenged me? What pattern did I notice? That act of closure signals to your brain that learning is complete, which is why insights often surface the next morning. When you repeat this rhythm long enough, learning stops being an activity and becomes a lifestyle. But there's one more layer: identity. You can't sustain deep learning if it's just a task on your to-do list. You have to start seeing yourself as a learner by identity.
Not someone studying a skill, but someone who learns as a way of living. When you shift identity, effort becomes natural. You stop asking, "Do I have time to learn?" and start asking, "What will I learn today?" That identity makes you anti-fragile. When technology changes, when jobs evolve, when life throws curveballs, you adapt. Because learning is your baseline behavior. That's the power of lifelong reinvention. The world rewards people who can reskill fast, but it belongs to those who can reimagine themselves completely. When you understand how to learn, you realize that no path is fixed. You can pick up design, science, business, storytelling, anything, and within months, be competent enough to build something real. That's not magic, that's process. Learn, process, test, connect, reflect. Day after day, year after year. So let's bring it full circle. Learning faster isn't about having better tools or more time or higher IQ. It's about mastering 3 things. 1, embracing effort instead of avoiding it. 2, thinking in loops, not lines. 3, designing a system that makes learning inevitable. When you do that, something incredible happens. Learning stops being like starting over. It becomes a continuation, a constant evolution of the same mind, growing sharper, calmer, more adaptable. Because the ultimate goal of learning isn't just to know, it's to transform. When you know how to learn, you can become whoever the next version of you needs to be. And that's the real speed. Not how fast you absorb information, but how quickly you can become someone new. So wherever you are, student, creator, entrepreneur, parent, remember, you are not behind. You are learning how to learn, and once you master that, there is no finish line. You become limitless.